If you wake up every morning with that heavy, bloated feeling in your stomach, or you've noticed that foods you used to enjoy now trigger discomfort hours later, or you're dealing with unpredictable bowel movements that make you plan your day around bathroom access, there's something happening at night that most people completely overlook. Your gut lining, the delicate barrier that separates your digestive system from your bloodstream, does most of its critical repair work while you sleep. But here's the problem that nobody talks about. If you go to bed without giving your body the specific raw materials it needs for this overnight repair process, you're essentially asking your gut to rebuild itself with nothing but water and willpower. And after years of this pattern, the damage accumulates. The good news is that there's one simple thing you can eat before bed that provides exactly what your gut lining needs to repair itself during those crucial nighttime hours. It's not expensive, it's not complicated, and when done correctly, it can start showing results in as little as 7 to 14 days. Hi, I'm Dr. Liana, and after years of working in emergency medicine and seeing patients come in with symptoms that all traced back to gut health issues, chronic fatigue, skin problems, joint pain, mood swings, weight gain that wouldn't budge, I started looking deeper into what actually repairs the gut lining at the cellular level. What I discovered challenged everything I thought I knew about digestive health. The gut lining completely regenerates itself every 3 to 5 days, which means you have 50 to 100 opportunities every year to rebuild a healthier barrier. But most people miss every single one of these opportunities because they don't understand what their gut actually needs to repair itself, especially during the critical overnight window when the body shifts into restoration mode. Let me paint a picture of what's happening in your gut right now. Your intestinal lining is essentially one cell thick. Imagine a wall made of tissue paper that's supposed to keep the contents of your digestive system separate from your bloodstream. This wall is held together by proteins called tight junctions, and when these proteins are strong, only nutrients get through while toxins, undigested food particles, and harmful bacteria stay out. But modern life attacks this barrier constantly. Processed foods, alcohol, medications like NSAIDs, chronic stress, poor sleep, and even intense exercise can damage these tight junctions. When the barrier becomes permeable, which researchers call increased intestinal permeability, substances that should stay in your gut leak into your bloodstream. Your immune system sees these substances as invaders and launches an inflammatory response. This is why gut problems often show up as seemingly unrelated symptoms: brain fog, joint pain, skin issues, anxiety, and stubborn weight gain. The inflammation isn't just in your gut, it's systemic. Now here's where timing becomes critical. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which signals tissue repair throughout your body, including your gut lining. Your nervous system shifts into parasympathetic mode, which is when healing happens. Blood flow to your digestive system increases. Your gut produces more mucus to protect and repair the lining. And perhaps most importantly, your migrating motor complex, think of it as your gut's cleaning crew, becomes active, sweeping out debris and bacteria that shouldn't be there. This is why what you eat in the hour before bed matters so much. You're either supporting this natural repair process or you're sabotaging it. The specific food I'm talking about is bone broth, but not just any bone broth and not consumed randomly. I'm talking about properly prepared, collagen-rich bone broth that's been simmered for at least 12 to 24 hours, consumed warm about 30 to 60 minutes before bed, with specific additions that enhance its gut healing properties. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Bone broth sounds like another health trend that promises everything and delivers nothing. But the science here is actually compelling, and I'm going to walk you through exactly why this works, how to do it right, and the mistakes that can completely cancel out the benefits. Let's talk about what makes bone broth different from regular broth or stock you might use for cooking. When you simmer bones for extended periods, especially bones with connective tissue, cartilage, and marrow, you extract compounds that are almost impossible to get in meaningful amounts from other foods. The main players are collagen and gelatin, which break down into amino acids like glycine, proline, and glutamine. These aren't just random proteins, they're the exact building blocks your gut uses to repair its lining. Glycine specifically is crucial for producing the mucus that protects your intestinal wall. Most people get less than half the glycine they need for optimal health because we don't eat nose to tail anymore. We eat muscle meat, which is low in glycine. Proline is essential for collagen synthesis throughout your body, including in your gut lining. And glutamine, this is the superstar for gut repair. Your intestinal cells use glutamine as their primary fuel source. When you're stressed, sick, or dealing with gut issues, your glutamine needs skyrocket, but your body's production can't keep up. But here's what makes the bedtime timing so powerful. When you consume bone broth before bed, you're providing these repair materials right when your body is primed to use them. You're not asking your gut to digest a heavy meal, which would interfere with the repair process. You're giving it a liquid source of easily absorbed nutrients that can go straight to work. The warmth of the broth also has a calming effect on your nervous system, helping trigger that parasympathetic shift that's essential for healing. And unlike taking isolated amino acid supplements, bone broth provides these nutrients in a whole food matrix with cofactors that enhance absorption and utilization. Now, let me share the specific research that convinced me this wasn't just traditional wisdom, but actual science. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology found that supplementation with the amino acids found abundantly in bone broth significantly reduced intestinal permeability in patients with inflammatory bowel conditions. The improvements were measurable using lactulose mannitol testing, the gold standard for assessing gut barrier function. Another study in the journal Nutrients showed that glycine supplementation improved sleep quality and reduced daytime fatigue, which makes sense because better sleep equals better gut repair. Research from the International Journal of Sport Nutrition demonstrated that collagen peptides, which are essentially pre-digested collagen like what you get from long-simmered bone broth, improved gut barrier function in athletes who typically suffer from exercise-induced intestinal permeability. But here's where most people get it wrong, and this is crucial. Not all bone broth is created equal, and the stuff you buy in most stores is often little more than flavored water with some added protein powder. Real bone broth should gel when it cools. That's how you know it's rich in collagen and gelatin. If your broth doesn't gel, you're not getting the gut-healing compounds we're after. The bones need to be from high-quality sources, ideally grass-fed beef or pasture-raised chicken, because the nutritional content of the bones reflects what the animal ate. And the cooking process matters tremendously. You need low, slow heat for extended periods to extract the maximum nutrition without destroying heat-sensitive compounds. Let me give you the exact protocol that I recommend based on both research and clinical observation. Starting tonight, 30 to 60 minutes before bed, heat up 8 to 10 ounces of genuine bone broth to a comfortable drinking temperature, not boiling. Add a quarter teaspoon of high-quality sea salt unless you're on a sodium-restricted diet. The minerals help with hydration and cellular function. Add a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar or fresh lemon juice, which helps with mineral absorption and may support stomach acid production. Optional but beneficial, add a pinch of turmeric and black pepper for anti-inflammatory support or a teaspoon of grass-fed collagen powder for extra gut-healing amino acids. Drink it slowly, taking at least 10 to 15 minutes. This isn't a shot of medicine, it's a therapeutic ritual. The slow consumption helps trigger digestive processes without overwhelming your system before sleep. Now let's talk about what you should not do, because I see these mistakes constantly. First, don't drink bone broth right before lying down. Give yourself at least 30 minutes, ideally closer to an hour. This prevents any potential reflux and gives your body time to begin processing the nutrients. Second, don't add sugar or sweeteners. I've seen people add honey or maple syrup to make it taste better, but this completely changes the metabolic effect and can interfere with the overnight repair process. Third, don't use bone broth as an excuse to eat late. This is not a midnight snack solution. Your last solid meal should still be 2 to 3 hours before bed. The bone broth is a therapeutic addition, not a meal replacement. Fourth, don't expect miracles overnight. Gut lining repair is a process. Give it at least 2 weeks of consistent nightly consumption before evaluating results. Let me address some concerns you might have. What if you're vegetarian or vegan? While bone broth is uniquely rich in certain compounds, you can create a gut-healing bedtime drink using vegetable broth as a base, adding L-glutamine powder, which is usually synthesized from plants, and plant-based collagen builders like vitamin C, silica, and specific amino acids. It won't be identical, but it can still support gut repair. What if you have histamine intolerance? Long-cooked bone broth can be high in histamines for some people. In this case, you might do better with shorter cooking times or fresh broth consumed immediately, or you might need to focus on other gut-healing strategies. What if you're worried about lead or heavy metals in bones? This is why source quality matters. Studies have shown that bones from properly raised animals don't contain concerning levels of heavy metals, but if you're worried, you can have your broth tested or stick to shorter cooking times with younger animals. Now I want to share the cascade of benefits that patients report when they commit to this protocol for at least 30 days. Week 1, most people notice improved sleep quality first. They fall asleep easier and wake up less during the night. Morning bloating starts to decrease. Week 2, bowel movements become more regular and comfortable. Energy levels stabilize throughout the day instead of the typical afternoon crash. Skin starts to look more hydrated and clear. Week 3 to 4, food sensitivities often begin to improve. Foods that previously caused bloating or discomfort become tolerable again. Joint pain and stiffness, especially morning stiffness, often improve. Mental clarity and mood stability increase. Weeks 5 through 8, this is when the deeper healing becomes apparent. Weight that was stuck starts to move. Chronic symptoms that seemed unrelated to gut health, like seasonal allergies, frequent headaches, or PMS symptoms, often improve. Blood markers of inflammation like C-reactive protein may decrease. But let's be realistic about what this is and isn't. Bone broth before bed is not a magic cure for serious digestive diseases. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, or other diagnosed conditions, you need proper medical treatment. This is a supportive practice, not a replacement for medical care. What it is, though, is a simple, low-risk intervention that provides your body with specific nutrients it needs for gut repair at the optimal time for using them. Think of it like this. If your gut lining is a garden wall that needs repair, medications might stop the damage from getting worse, probiotics might add beneficial bacteria, and dietary changes might reduce irritation. But bone broth provides the actual bricks and mortar, the physical materials needed to rebuild the wall. I want to share a critical point about modern life that makes this practice more important than ever. Our ancestors got these gut-healing compounds regularly because they ate the whole animal and made broths from bones as a matter of course. But modern eating has eliminated these foods almost entirely. We eat muscle meat, which is high in methionine but low in glycine, creating an amino acid imbalance. We throw away bones, cartilage, and connective tissue, the parts richest in gut-healing compounds. We eat quickly, often while stressed, which impairs digestion. We stay up late exposed to blue light, which disrupts our natural repair cycles. We take medications that damage the gut lining. We eat processed foods that feed harmful bacteria. And then we wonder why gut issues have become epidemic. The bedtime bone broth practice is really about returning to a fundamental human practice that supported gut health for thousands of years. Now let's talk about how to make this sustainable, because the biggest reason people fail is that they make it too complicated. You don't need to make fresh bone broth every day. Make a large batch once a week and freeze it in single-serving portions. You can use a slow cooker, instant pot, or stovetop, whatever works for your life. You don't need exotic bones. Chicken bones from a roasted chicken work great. Save bones in the freezer until you have enough for a batch. You don't need to drink it plain if you really can't stand the taste. Add fresh herbs, a squeeze of lemon, or a tiny amount of coconut aminos for flavor. The key is consistency, not perfection. Even if you only manage 5 nights a week, that's still 35 more opportunities for gut repair than you had before. Here's something fascinating about the gut-brain connection that makes this practice even more powerful. Your gut produces more neurotransmitters than your brain does. 90% of your body's serotonin is made in your gut. When your gut lining is damaged, it affects neurotransmitter production and signaling. This is why gut issues so often come with anxiety, depression, or brain fog. By supporting gut lining repair, you're not just improving digestion, you're supporting mental health, emotional regulation, and cognitive function. Many people report that the mood and energy improvements are even more dramatic than the digestive benefits. I also want to address the elephant in the room: cost. High-quality bone broth can be expensive if you buy it pre-made, often $10 to $15 per serving. But making it yourself costs pennies per serving if you save bones and vegetable scraps. This is not an elite health practice. It's actually one of the most economical healing foods you can make. Our great-grandmothers knew this, which is why Jewish penicillin and other traditional bone broth soups were medicine for the masses, not luxury items. Don't let marketing convince you that you need expensive branded bone broth. The stuff you make at home from quality ingredients is usually superior to anything you can buy. Let me give you some variations to keep this interesting and targeted for specific issues. For extra anti-inflammatory support, add fresh ginger and turmeric root to your broth while heating. For additional gut healing power, stir in a tablespoon of grass-fed gelatin powder right before drinking. For better sleep support, add a teaspoon of glycine powder or magnesium glycinate. For immune support, add medicinal mushrooms like reishi or turkey tail during the cooking process. For hormone balance, especially for women, add adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha or rhodiola. The base practice remains the same, but you can customize based on your needs. Now let's talk about troubleshooting, because not everyone has the same response. If bone broth makes you feel wired instead of sleepy, you might be sensitive to the glutamic acid content. Try a shorter cooking time or smaller serving. If you experience digestive upset, start with just 2 to 3 ounces and gradually increase. Your gut might need time to adjust. If you don't notice any benefits after a month, consider whether other factors are overwhelming the repair process. Are you still eating inflammatory foods? Are you chronically sleep deprived? Are you on medications that damage the gut? Bone broth is powerful, but it can't overcome every lifestyle factor. I want to close with this thought. Your gut lining is remarkably resilient. It wants to heal. It's programmed to repair itself continuously. But in our modern world, we've stacked the deck against it with processed foods, chronic stress, medications, and disrupted sleep patterns. The bedtime bone broth practice is about tipping the scales back in favor of repair. It's about giving your body what it needs when it needs it most. This isn't about perfection or following another restrictive diet. It's about adding one simple, nourishing practice that supports your body's natural healing processes. Starting tonight, you can begin supporting your gut lining repair. Get some quality bones, make a simple broth, and commit to drinking a warm cup before bed for the next 2 weeks. Pay attention to how you feel when you wake up. Notice changes in your digestion, energy, and mood. Keep a simple journal if it helps. And remember, healing is not linear. Some nights you might forget, some batches might not turn out perfect, and some weeks you might not notice much change. That's all normal. What matters is the overall pattern of providing your gut with consistent support. Your gut health influences everything from your immune system to your mood to your metabolism. By supporting gut lining repair with this simple bedtime practice, you're not just improving digestion, you're supporting your overall health and vitality. The research is clear, the practice is simple, and the potential benefits are profound. If this resonates with you, please share it with someone who might be struggling with gut issues. Subscribe to Dr. Liana for more evidence-based health strategies, and remember, always consult with your healthcare provider before making significant changes to your health routine, especially if you have diagnosed conditions or take medications. Your gut is waiting to heal. Tonight, you can start giving it what it needs.